My name's Allison Kaufman,
And what is your job?
and I am a science teacher. So I teach science and I hopefully get students excited about science.
What do you do for your job?
So, on a day-to-day basis, I think we all have that experience where we see teachers, from a student's perspective, but there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into being a science teacher. So, you know, taking what the students already know and building on that knowledge and getting them excited is my ultimate goal. And so, just all the thought process and the planning that goes into that behind the scenes. And teaching is kind of an art form. So every year and every student is different. And so kind of taking those different needs and those interests and making it work for the class. Um, there's a lot of lab work that goes into it and also just planning for things outside of the classroom. And I'll talk about that a little bit later today.
Why did you want to become a science teacher?
So I'm the oldest in my family. So I've always kind of been a natural teacher. I've always loved to teach things to my siblings. So when I was younger, I just had that natural teaching want, and I also have a love for the sciences and for nature and the outside. And that was instilled in me by my grandfather. So I had this kind of natural teaching want, and then this love for nature. And I think those two things ultimately led me to where I was, or where I when I came to my decision of becoming a teacher. But I will be honest, through middle school, through high school, if you were to ask me what I wanted to do, I wouldn't have told you that I wanted to be a teacher. And I think as you get older and as you kind of get into that position where you have to start making a career choice, sometimes you say what other people want to hear. So I think my answers were I want to be a veterinarian or I want to be a mechanical engineer, which deep down I definitely did not want to do either of those things, and I would have been terrible at both of them in terms of just what I enjoy and my interests. So it wasn't really until college that I realized my dream. Um, and I kept finding myself back in a classroom. So I was taking my science courses, which was my one passion. But then I also just naturally had opportunities come up where I was in a classroom. And I'm like, all right, I can't deny this anymore. These two things make perfect sense. I need to be a science teacher. And so I embraced it. And 6 years later, I'm still a science teacher and I love what I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What education was required to be a science teacher?
So there's lots of different paths to be a teacher. You can go straight into a education degree, and especially for science, you can get a specific science education degree. For my path, I got my degree in biology. So my bachelor's degree was in biology, and and one of the reasons for that was because I didn't quite know what I wanted to do going in as a freshman in college. So I got my degree in biology, and then from there, I got my master's degree in education. And so those two things, I had everything I needed to be a teacher. I know there's also paths, there's alternative paths. I have teacher colleagues who go to the workforce, they are in a different thing and then they come back because they want to be a teacher, and there's opportunities that way. So there's lots of different paths to becoming a teacher, but for my specific science education, I really enjoyed having my biology degree to help me with my teaching degree, so those two things kind of working together.
What's been your favorite experience at your job?
Well, for those of you who are watching, Emily here is a past student of mine. And one of the most rewarding things of being a teacher is seeing my students develop into knowledgeable, informed, amazing young people. You don't get that in many other jobs. So it's incredibly rewarding there. Um, I've also had some really amazing experiences just in the classroom and beyond. So one of the things I'm most proud of and most excited about was taking students on international trips to do science outside of just the classroom. So I worked with an organization called Operation Wallacea, and we traveled to sites all over that need help taking surveys to see what kinds of animals and biodiversity are around. So um, I took my first group to Honduras and my second group to South Africa, and we worked with scientists. They learned skills that they wouldn't have learned just in the classroom, and hopefully help develop future scientists, because along with being a science teacher, one of my goals, I want future scientists out there, and we need both. We need science teachers and we need scientists. So anything I can do, whether it's a big trip like that or just day-to-day things, to get students excited about science, and especially being that spark for maybe someone who wants to be a scientist, but also just making that spark for someone who maybe science isn't their thing, but they're going to appreciate the natural world, and they're going to be good stewards of the earth, and kind of give back that way. That's a win-win no matter what my students' path is after my class.
What is one thing that you would like to tell school-age children to encourage them to learn about science and becoming a science teacher?
Yeah, so kind of going off what I just said, the world needs amazing teachers, and the world also needs amazing scientists. And if you're a science teacher, you get to kind of do both. And so if you have a passion about the natural world, or you're interested in helping others or making a difference, being a science teacher checks all the boxes. And if you don't go the science teacher route and you're still interested in the science route, there's so many different options for you. So choosing my biology degree opened up a lot of doors. And so it's not just the doors that you think, like a doctor or a researcher or a veterinarian, or a teacher. There's lots of other paths that I don't think we realize at a young age. And so, maybe you're interested in art and science. You can go on, and there's a specific career out there that's a scientific illustrator. You can draw pictures of things that are in the natural world and get paid for it. So keep that curiosity, and you know think about your interests, and like I said, you know being a science teacher is awesome. It's not always easy, but I really can't imagine a more rewarding career, for my interests and for my goals in life. So
Well, thank you for
being a
joining us
science
today.
teacher. Yeah, thanks, Emily.